cash. It's a good idea to make sure and borrow somebody else's car when you drive to a grow store. Don't take your own car. You're not jeopardizing the person that you borrow the car from because there will be no grow operation set up at their house. You will be in jeopardy if you use your own vehicle. When you're traveling to the grow store to make the purchase, you want to make certain you're not being followed. It's almost impossible to tail somebody unless the police are using 3 or 4 vehicles in unison, where the first vehicle can begin following, turn off, the second vehicle picks them up, they turn off, the third vehicle picks them up, giving the other 2 a chance to catch up, and they continue seesawing in that fashion where it looks less suspicious. If police are using that method to follow you, you'll never know it, but it's very easy to screw them up by doing fast stops, turning around, or even acting like you're going to turn around and then continue straight. It's all about misdirection, or simply pull over. Let vehicles pass for a bit. Go back in the opposite direction and see what's coming back at you. Look at these cars. Now, if any of those vehicles start hitting their brake lights or turning off, it's a good chance they were following you and you tripped them up and caused them to tap their brake. And like I said, you might not see those 4 or 5 vehicles working in unison to follow you, but I promise you, they go crazy on the radio. He's turning this way, he turned that way, and before long, you've lost them. It's not hard to shake people following you. Make certain you use these methods going to and from the grow shop. When you approach a grow shop store, you want to perform what's called a heat run and make certain that spot's not being watched. A heat run consists of zooming around a parking lot and being totally aware of your surroundings. The first thing I noticed when I came into this parking lot was this suspiciously parked truck. Now see how he's facing away from the store? The store is behind the truck. Cops don't point towards stores to watch them. They're trained to park away and they look at it through their rear view mirror. And what's even more suspicious is this male in the passenger seat is looking through his rear view mirror with his rear view mirror cocked. Now that could be legitimate. He could be waiting for somebody to come out, but it doesn't look like it. Of course, look for the signature van with blacked out windows or Suburbans with blacked out windows. Police use those to set up surveillance.
Any conversation about any illegal substance voids all sales.
When you purchase your grow equipment and you get ready to drive home with it, leave in the opposite direction of the grow location. Take the grow equipment somewhere else, let it cool off for about a week or so, then go back, retrieve your items, and take them to the grow location. Another sloppy mistake that growers make is failing to control the odor of the marijuana. Anybody that's ever been close to a marijuana plant can tell you it has a distinct and strong odor. The only safe way that really works is pumping the air from your grow room through a carbon filter. This air can be pumped into your house. Do not pump it outside, and that totally takes care of the odor problem. I understand that if you have $1 million grow operation, it takes a lot of filters and a lot more work. Controlling trash should enter your mind as controlling evidence. Police look through trash cans to try and gather evidence that proves you're growing marijuana in your house. Do not throw anything in the trash that can be linked to a grow operation. You must take this type of trash to a nearby dumpster somewhere and get it off your property. Fertilizer sacks, grow equipment boxes, data that you recorded. Get that stuff and keep that stuff out of your house and absolutely never put it in your trash can. Larger operations have a problem with the excess stems and leaves after they harvest the bud off the marijuana plants. It's my recommendation that the leftover marijuana stems and leaves must be taken off your property. Now, you're running a great risk by placing it in your car and getting it to a place it can be dumped. But watch Traffic Stops Volume 1 and learn how to safely drive your stash in a vehicle. If you live in a rural area, it's an even better idea to hand carry these extra stems and leaves through the woods a mile away from your property. Get it off your property however you must in a safe fashion. Now, I know if you're growing marijuana, you're a cannabis proponent and you're excited about your work, but do not display nor possess any paraphernalia such as marijuana leaf t-shirts or emblems. Anything relating to marijuana must be taken out of your house, never to return again. Keep that place clean. Now, I understand another huge part of not getting busted for growing marijuana indoors is being able to sell that marijuana safely. We cover that in this DVD in the How to Sell Marijuana section. So use those tips to help get rid of your stash. One of law enforcement's favorite tools used to invade your home is called a knock and talk or a tap and rap. Knock and talks and tap and raps lean on the idea that it is not illegal for the police to knock on your door and discuss you possibly being involved in criminal activity. In other words, it is not illegal for the police to knock on your door and ask you if you're growing or are in possession of marijuana.
When I heard the knock on the door, I glanced out the window and I saw that there was some men outside. I didn't really get a good picture of their badges or anything, but I did see that there were men outside. When I had my son in my arms and he was crying and I know he's making noise, so I figured I had to open the door.
Knock and talks are usually triggered by an anonymous tip, a tip from somebody seeking revenge, suspicious traffic coming in and out of your house, or some other reasonable suspicion. Police cannot obtain a search warrant without probable cause. So when they only have reasonable suspicions, they show up at your door to do a knock and talk to manipulate their way into your home.
But when I first opened the door, they said that they needed to talk to me. And when I told them that they needed to get a warrant, they started to show their guns, and a couple of them seemed to be taking them out. And at that point, they first just asked if they could come in. Then when I said no, they said they smelled marijuana, which I knew that wasn't true because I got rosemary and sage right outside my door. There's no way they could have smelled anything. When I was trying to keep the door, like to barely talk to them, one of them breached the door, made sure that that I couldn't close it or do anything, and pretty much they forced me to go ahead and let them in. Once they got in, I mean,
I have made dozens of arrests, including a 230-pound marijuana seizure using the knock and talk technique. Never Get Busted constantly gets emails from citizens complaining of going to jail behind a knock and talk or a tap and rap. This method of arresting citizens for marijuana is being used more and more every day by law enforcement. All the people I arrested and all the people emailing me for help made one critical error. They all opened the door for the police. A lot of well-meaning drug reformers and attorneys have instructed citizens to open the door, step out on the porch, and shut the door behind them when confronted with a knock and talk. When I was a narcotics officer, if I could get the person to open the door, I knew I could search their house. I would explain I smelled marijuana, that if they forced me to go get a search warrant, I was going to arrest everybody in the house and seize their home and put them in prison, or they could simply cooperate, sign a consent to search form, and allow me to search. It worked every time. Had they not opened the door for me, I never would have been able to manipulate them into signing a consent to search their home. Tell me about when they wanted you to sign the consent to search form.
See, they came in, said they smelled marijuana, so I had always thought that when they say that meant they could go ahead and search my house. Well, these cops sat down with me and asked me to sign a consent to search. And I said no, was my first answer. Right away I told them no. Well, they didn't really like that, and the nice cops still were trying to talk me into letting them see my plants or whatever. They started off with little things like, well, if we have to get a search warrant, it's just going to make things harder on you. And I still wasn't saying anything. They still kept pressing a little bit, and that's when they said, you know, if we get a search warrant, your wife's going to go to jail, your child's going to be taken away, and you're going to be charged and taken to jail too. So you can either work with us, and most likely, if you really do just have 10, 20, 30 plants, we'll let you go. We're going to get out of your hair. We'll take the plants. We'll be out of here. And after they were threatening me with that, I couldn't stand the thought of my wife going to jail or losing my baby. So I told them everything that I had, that it was all mine, and that I assumed the full responsibility for it.
Remember, cops do not get into any type of trouble if they lose a case in court. If they coerce their way into your house and violate the Fourth Amendment and lose the case, it's no big deal to them. They're not disciplined in any way. A drug seizure is a drug seizure in the eyes of the police, whether it's successfully prosecuted or not.
They tried to act like they were my friends for the most part. They said that that I needed to talk to them, and that they knew there was marijuana in my house. So I told them, well, yeah, that I did have a little bit. I just wanted to be honest with them. I had already messed up by letting them in. So I was just going to be honest with them. They told me, there were three or four, and two of them were pretending to be like my friends. And they were telling me, oh, just show, if you have just a little bit of bud, then we'll let you go, and you can get on with it. It's not going to be a big deal. We're looking for people who are growing at least 100 plants. So I didn't think it was a big deal, so I showed them the little jar I had